Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Excuse me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, I can't remember what the day is. The date. Oh, I know what day it is. It's Thursday. It's somewhere in October. I know we're still celebrating, if that's the right word, the Halloween and all things autumnal. For those of you in America, for all of you who celebrate the fall or do things in the fall, but uh, in in England, in my country, we are a very Celtic nation, and in fact, we just discovered, Chris and I, that in fact the Celtic nations are basically many places in Britain. So um, we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing as always to my right side. I'd like to say good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, everyone.
So good morning, good morning, good morning. So good morning to all of you. Chris and I just did a little bit of research. We actually cheated a little bit. We used that little machine where you say hey to something. I'm not going to say it because I don't want my machine to get going here. Um, but, you know, talking about Halloween and how did Halloween begin? And Halloween began with the Celtic nations who, if I'm correct, would light bonfires and dress up in costumes to ward off the ghosts. I wonder what costumes they would wear that they might consider that ghosts would be afraid of or keep away from. So I need to do a little bit more research on that. But anyway, the Celtic nations, basically, we're looking at, let me see if I can get this right, Chris. Of course, Scotland, uh, Wales, Ireland, I think, comes into that as well. Let me see what else. So we've got the Scotch, the Welsh, the Irish, Cornwall. I think it's, from my understanding, I think it's where you've got different groups of people who have their own language within a language. For instance, if you go to Wales, a lot of people, particularly in northern Wales, is my understanding, a lot of people still speak Welsh that only the Welsh can understand. It's a language all of its own. The same with the Irish, they have their own language, and in Cornwall, they have their own language, and many parts of Britain have their own sort of language that they understand, but nobody else can understand it. I remember the first time I went to Yorkshire. I lived in Yorkshire for a long time, and Yorkshire people have their own, excuse me, amazing language, and they have this amazing um, accent, and sort of coming from sort of the middle of the country. When I headed north, um, it, I mean, it was honestly like listening to a foreign language, and they use words that I'd never heard before. But I think in and around Great Britain, that's normal for us. It's natural for us. But anyway, so the Brits are that those Celtic nations are within that within Great Britain, and so we thought, Chris and I, we thought it might be fun to, if anyone from those areas has any stories or any memories, or do any of you still like bonfires? Do any of you still dress up to ward off the ghosts? I mean, the history of my country goes back so many years, as it does in most of Europe. So I'm sure that there are people out there, hopefully the people listening. Do any of you have any memories or stories or any information about the spooky stuff? Because we're all about the spooky stuff. And of course, we I think I'm right in saying that we in Great Britain did not celebrate the fall or autumn in the same way that they do in America. And I think in other countries, maybe you have different ways of celebrating the fall and celebrating, the sort of the ending of spring and so on. In America, I think it's fair to say you're big on scarecrows, right, Chris? And pumpkins. I haven't actually seen a pumpkin, a carved pumpkin, until I watched an American TV show. And certainly we didn't, when I was a kid, we're going back a long time now. When I was a kid, you talk to my grandson forever and ever, so old. I'm older than his school is older than me. I think that's right. I'm not sure. Anyway, um, we didn't, when I was growing up, we didn't have pumpkins and we didn't carve pumpkins. That was not something that we did. Now, it could be now that people in England do that stuff because, we have TV and we see what other countries do and how other countries celebrate. But we certainly didn't have pumpkins. We certainly didn't do that kind of thing, certainly not my area. But we did have things like toffee apples. Chris, do you know what a toffee apple is? Because a lot of people in this country, in America, don't know what a toffee apple is.
Yeah, we tend to get them more in the fall fairs, the agricultural fairs. They have the toffee and the candy and the kinds with nuts on it. There's different kinds. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, in England, we made, anybody listening there who's as old as I am will know. We used to make what we call bonfire toffee. Now, the toffee apples that I've seen in the States are sort of like a softish toffee, but we used to make what we called bonfire toffee, which was really, really brittle, and we'd have it all bubbling up in the pan. We'd put a stick in the apple, we'd twirl it in this boiling hot liquid and stand it on end so that the toffee would sort of fall over the apple. It would stay on the apple, but it would fall over the apple and make a nice flat crispy bottom. And that was how certainly in my part of the world when I was a kid we used to make toffee apples. And uh, bonfire toffee is absolutely great. I remember making it once when I was a kid. We were not allowed to do it, but we kids were all at home on school holidays, and we made our version of bonfire toffee, which tasted really good to us. It was probably very burned, but you sort of boil it up and then you put it in a pan, and then somehow or another, of course, we did not have parchment paper, we did not have foil, we didn't have anything to line the pan. I think by the time we were finished, that you let the toffee set, and then you have to scrape it out. You ruin the pan completely because you can't get it out of the pan that it's in, but it still tastes good anyway. So, Chris, let's have some questions and some comments from everybody listening. But let's talk about how people celebrate the fall, or if you don't celebrate, that's also fine. But it is a great time of year for things happening, and they have. I know in America, and I think in many states of America, they have. That's the time of your fairs, isn't it? When you can go and get fried dough, and you can go on rides, and you can. It's like it's big fairgrounds open up, but the towns and the villages also have their own sort of fall fairs, I think they call them, and you go and sort of just have fun and mingle with all of the other people in your town that you don't see that often, but it's a fun thing to do. So let's see, Chris, first of all, how do you like to celebrate fall? And then let's have some questions and comments from everybody.
Well, I always decorate in the house. I bring in lots of color, usually the oranges and the blacks. Like right now, as I look around my apartment, I've got pumpkins lining the door to the porch, and it says Happy Halloween. And I've got, different pumpkins. I have fall wreaths. I have fake pumpkins in the house. Little banners. I've got ghosts and bats hanging off the porch. I do have scarecrows in my window. It's funny that you say that. Maggie was saying scarecrows were to scare birds away from the crops, but it only gives the birds a roost to survey the fields.
Yeah, that's so
It,
true.
similar to owl statues on roofs to keep the pigeons away, but pigeons sit next to the owls. But as I was driving around this weekend for foliage, I mean, just as you have described, you're going to see blocks of straw or hay with pumpkins sitting on them. You're going to see corn stalks, wound together to, on both sides of the door, sort of thing. You're going to see pumpkins. They're not carved yet, but it seems that there are many towns here who do like hundreds of pumpkins that are carved, and they line a neighborhood or a street. And that's where people go, when you're the adult, when you're not out trick or treating.
Oh, right. Oh,
So
yes.
those are fun.
I'd forgotten the trick or treating part of it. I mean, we really didn't have that, but talking about corn and scarecrows and so on, corn dollies are a very in certain cultures, and certainly I'm thinking, in sort of certain areas of England, people would make corn dollies. They were considered part of I hate to use the word religion, but part of certain rituals and rites, wanting the harvest next year to be, to be a good harvest. I mean, there are all sorts of things going on in the fall that maybe people do still do them. So let's hear from everybody. What do you do? What do you know? And there used to be this idea of the young maiden and the young man in the village getting together, rites or rituals concerning that fertility. It's a time of fertility. It's a time of new beginnings. It's a time of, when we sort of get the harvest in, and we're thankful for the harvest, but then we plow the fields and get them ready for the coming, the next year, planting seeds and so on and so forth. I mean, it was in the olden days, as my grandson would say, it was a time of ritual, I think, and it was a time of people sort of having. I'll use the word pagan. I'm trying to use the word pagan not in a critical way, but in a in a way of, I guess, curiosity. But there are still many people following the pagan ways, and many people believing in the pagan beliefs and the rites and rituals thereof. And and of course, let's not forget. You did say something to me, Chris. You said. You've got a thing saying Happy Halloween. Halloween. I'm not sure that it was a time of happy, because people would really believe that Halloween was that time when the ghosts would come out, the dead would raise up, and they needed to protect themselves from, any spooky stuff that went on, any ghosts or ghouls or things that went bump in the night. And when we do our when we have our story time, which is what day is it, Chris? It's the 29th
Are
of,
you talking about your spine chilling accounts with Rosemary
well,
Altea, your
hopefully some
Eventbrite
of them will be
webinar?
spine chilling. They were certainly spine chilling to me, but it's going to be a story time. We're going to be telling stories of spooky stuff, and we would like people to participate in their own stories. They have to be true stories. Whether other people believe them or not is not an issue to me. If you believe it, if it's a true story and you experience it, we'd love to have that experience, and we'd love to if you join us on that day. It is the 29th of October. I think tickets are $12.50. We've tried to make it as available to everybody and as easily affordable to everybody as we possibly can. Because we're just going to be sitting telling stories and discussing the things that happened, and maybe sort of seeing if we can find some explanations or not for the spooky stuff that happens to us. So we're going to be having a nice sort of sit around the fire with your hot toddy or your hot chocolate or whatever it is, and we're going to be sharing stories, and that'll be a fun night. That's on the 29th. Um, and when I say it'll be a fun night, it'll be fun because we'll all be together, we'll all be sharing, we'll all be sort of enjoying the spookiness. But is Happy Halloween the correct way to address Halloween? Because it was the time when people really, and still is now for lots of people, is a time when we think of people um, having passed to the spirit world, and then all of the unrest where they come and try and it's interesting that they used to wear costumes to protect themselves and to keep the ghosts at bay. So they obviously thought that the ghosts were or possibly could be harmful to them. So we are on the 29th. We're not going to be worried about that stuff. We're going to easily, because I don't believe in ghosts, you see. So we're doing a ghost night. But when I had many of these experiences that I'm going to be talking about and telling you about, they were ghostly to me because I didn't understand at the time. At the time that these things were happening, they seemed to me to be ghosts and ghouls and things that went bump in the night. We can explain them now, we can understand them now, but even so, if you're going through something like that and you have had that experience, that weird and wonderful experience of being scared, it's a scared witless, or not daring to look under the bed in case something's under there that comes out and says boo at you when you least expect it. We want to know these things and we want to share these things. So we're going to be having a fun time doing that. Chris.
Cheryl says, when I was a kid in New York State, we got onto a hay wagon to trick or treat from house to house. And then we went to a Halloween party afterwards with pin the tail on the donkey and dunking for apples.
All right. Okay. Yes, we didn't do the dunking thing either. Certainly, again, perhaps somebody in England when they were a kid did do the dunking thing, but we certainly didn't do that. We sort of had our apples were for making apple pie, apple crumble, which is my favourite. If we're going to be cooking apples or baked apples, I love baked apples as well, with the skin on, stuffed with raisins and brown sugar and all of that good stuff. Maybe we can do that. One Sunday we're going to be making Yorkshire puddings. Maybe I'll make some. Maybe I'll show you how to make some baked apples as well. How about that, Chris?
There you go. There's your dessert.
Do you like that for an idea? It is fall after all. So, all right. Let's have some more comments and questions.
All right. Well, I think that's all they gave to us literally about Halloween.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back up to the first question we had. And it's from Shamanth. As a medium, what are your thoughts on miscarriage? What do they signify? What happens to the souls which have entered the fetus when miscarriage and or abortion happens?
Well, Samantha, I've talked about this before because I had several miscarriages. My daughter is my miracle child. I had several miscarriages before I had Samantha, and then I had a couple after I had Samantha. So it's certainly is a question that I needed to know the answer to. There are some people who believe that the soul enters the body at the time of the birth. So a lot of people believe that a fetus does not have a soul. So I'm going to give you my take on this. Having experienced it my own self and having sort of been interested in this subject, wanting to know for my own sake, but also for the many souls that I speak to in the spirit world, who either did not go to full term or did not survive being in the womb. So here is my take on it for all of you out there. I absolutely believe 1,000% that many souls, uh, when they come to this earth, or when they, yes, when they want to have the experience of what it is like to have this earthly experience, many souls will decide that they will have the experience of the womb, that they will have the experience of growing within the womb. They will have the experience of connecting with the energy of the mother, and also the of the family that they are connected to, being in the womb. But they choose to only have that momentary experience. It might be just a few weeks, it might be a few months, but they choose to have that momentary experience of what it is like to be connected in the womb and connected with this human world of ours, this this incredible energy that we have within this world of ours, and they choose to connect with the mother, or the host, uh, who the woman who is hosting them in the womb. So they choose to have that connection, and sometimes that connection can be amazing and incredible, but they choose to leave prior to their actual physical birth. So some souls choose to only have a momentary experience and to learn and to grow from that experience, as we do as souls. Some souls choose to have a longer experience. Some souls choose to have that first taking of that first breath, or that first day, or that first few days of surviving outside of the womb, and then but that is all the experience that they choose. So as much as we as mothers, and I know that I, having gone through it many times, you think, is there something that you're doing that is wrong? Is there something that, what could I have done differently if I'd have not run up the stairs when, if I'd have not, which happened to me, if I'd have not run up the stairs in a panic over something or another, if I'd have, sort of, as I had to do with Samantha, I was on full bed rest from the first 2 weeks, knowing that I was pregnant, literally the first 2 weeks, and all the way up into her birth, I was on complete and absolute bed rest. So no matter what we do, uh, if that soul who has chosen this experience within the womb, if that soul has chosen to only have a short amount of time, it is the soul's choice. It has nothing to do with what we as human beings, with all of our wonderful technology, it's nothing to do with what we do, what we can do, what we should have done or shouldn't have done, or whatever. And so it's a very interesting question, Samantha, and I appreciate you asking that question, because I know that there are a lot of people out there, a lot of women out there who've had the experience of having that momentary thing that going on. Does my child survive? Yes, it does survive. Can that child, in fact, talk about that? Experience? Yes, they can. Whether they survive, whether they lasted an hour or a week or a day, yes, they can. I told a story recently about a twin who came to his sister. Uh, he died when he was 4 days old, but had been watching his sister grow, had been watching uh, her her daughters grow, had actually at some point interacted with the daughters, and they thought he was a poltergeist. They nicknamed him Charlie, and all these years later, his twin was in her mid-50s, as he was. I saw him in his mid-50s. Weird, right? So how do we explain all of that? We don't have time here today to explain it all, but do miscarriages, do those short moments of birth, do they count? Do the souls survive? Do they remember? Can they speak to us? Very often they do. Yes, they do remember. And they are having this experience because they need to learn and they need to grow. It is their decision whether they stay here or whether they do not stay here. But many, many souls choose to come here just for that momentary, that blink of an eye, you could say, of being within the womb and of experiencing the energy of the, not only of the mother, but of the family and the energy that she surrounds herself with. Boy, that's a lot of information. Chris.
So the follow on to that, what Samantha had asked, was also abortions. And I'm seeing comments about when the soul comes to earth, it's their decision. But you've also said that we never go before our time.
Right.
And then the individual, let's say mom, has decided she's going to have an abortion. Was it in her plan to know this was going to happen, or was it the soul who's coming in's plan to have it happen?
It's always the soul's choice to okay, when prior to our birth here on this earth, we talk with people who are wiser than we are. We come for a reason. We don't remember the reason very often why we come here, why we decide to have this experience, but we come for the experience. We come for that, and many souls choose to come for only, I'd like the experience of the womb, but I don't want to go into all that other stuff because we've got other stuff to do. We want to experience other things. So it is the soul's choice. Having discussed it, having thought about it, having been advised, and having known what it is that they want to achieve through that experience, it is the soul's choice. And it's sort of from then on, it gets so, we could spend an hour and still not cover this issue. So let's just for now just say it is the soul's choice as to how long or how brief their time here is, whether it's within the womb, because they are still on this earth, they're still having this earthly experience, but they cannot go before their time. Their time has been decided prior to coming here, as has the time with all of us. Got it, Chris?
Got it. Monisha's asking, people who had near-death experiences have talked about their experience of going through a tunnel, seeing a light, and their life flashing before their eyes. What are your thoughts on these experiences that people have?
Well, I think they're very real. I think, when Grave was asked many years ago, could he describe the universe? I was thinking, oh gosh, how do you do that? And he described it like holes in a cheese. So if you can imagine an enormous round ball of cheese, like an Emmenthal, or those cheeses that you cut and they've got holes going through them. So the universe is this world of ours, and the universe, it's like holes in a cheese. If you could slice it in half, you would see all the tunnels, some connecting, some going one way, some going another, some running parallel, some running across. But so this is the way that we can travel through these tunnels, if you like, you call them tunnels. And when I have had my out of body experiences, I very often found myself standing just inside, you might call it a tunnel, or just inside. If you can imagine, you've sort of gone through a long tunnel and you come to an archway like this, the round of the tunnel basically. So it's like you stand just inside there before you step out into wherever it is you've arrived, and you step out of the tunnel. So it makes perfect sense to me that we come through a tunnel. It also makes perfect sense to me that, and I do tell my patients this when I have a patient who we know is dying, and they want to know, how can I get there quicker, Rosemary? I'll often say to them, just look for the light. And there is a light, there is this incredible and beautiful light, which I personally have also experienced, but there is a light that basically is guiding the way or leading us towards where it is we need to go to, where we need to be. So I think that a lot of these near-death experiences are very, very real, and they can, they tell us things. And scientists, of course, uh, you know, a true scientist will listen and understand, as I've been told by a true scientist. But a lot of people prefer to think it's somebody's imagination or it's ridiculous or something. You hear of people who say, I was in surgery and I was floating on the ceiling, but I could see everything that was going on and I could hear everything that was going on. And that is also very, very viable, very, very, things that do happen to people. And I absolutely believe that they do happen to people. And I think that, they can teach us so much about, what the universe is like, and that they can also teach us that death is not a terrifying thing. It's not anything to be scared about. It's a natural part of the process. Chris.
Monisha's second part of her question was, can you please tell us exactly what happens at the moment leading up to a person's death and the moment the soul leaves the body?
Well, I could, if we only had more time, because it can be different from person to person. So let me see. I can give you one example of, as we are, whether we die, pass suddenly, quickly, or whether whether it's slow at that moment, that impact, that moment of taking that last breath and the severing of the cord, or the severing of that, it's almost like the severing of the umbilical cord. It's described as the silver cord, or it's described as the etheric cord, whatever it's described as. But the moment of the severing of that, or just prior to that, I'm going to say, many people experience their angels. Many people see their loved ones. They see their departed loved ones, a mother, father, grandfather, whoever it is. And many people who are experiencing, pain and suffering before they pass, they will often see or get a glimpse of the tunnel that they're going to go through. And they will often see people standing just inside the tunnel. I mean, there's so many stories. We don't have time for them all. But what happens when we take that last breath, and we are lifted, we become lifted up, we are able to rise out of our body without even knowing that we're doing it. It's such a natural thing. We're already beginning to move. We're already beginning to travel anyway. And in that last moment, at that last breath, when the cord is severed, there's no going back. When you're traveling, when you're astral traveling, the cord stays intact. You go back and forth and back and forth. But in that last moment, when our body finally leaves this earth and the cord is broken, severed, if you like, we are able to move, and we find ourselves being lifted very often by our angels, by our loved ones, by our family in the spirit world. But we're often lifted and we're carried, let's say, through the tunnel. And we're carried through this tunnel. We don't very often even realize that it's a tunnel. We know that we're moving, and we know that we can see light and warmth, and we feel comfort, and we feel this incredible peace coming over us. And the next thing we know, there we have all of our loved ones who are waiting for us, who are waiting to party with us, who are celebrating our coming home. And my feeling is, I have rarely talked to anyone, and I've talked to thousands of people and experienced this thousands of times. Rarely do I see anyone who is distressed. Occasionally, you might get someone who struggles because they don't want to leave their family behind, or they have a reason not to want to go. So they might hold on a little bit, but nobody forces them. They are carried gently, safely, and it's such a beautiful and a wonderful feeling that, you know, we go with it because we know that we're going home and this is where we want to be. I hope that helps. Chris.
Fetus says, I wonder why most people can't see their own guardian angel. I believe and trust in my angel. Do you see yours? And if so, how is your guardian angel?
Well, here's the thing. I think that we have angels, all of us, we have angels all around us, but they're not there 100% of the time. They have things to do. Um, have I seen angels? Many, many times. Have I seen my own guardian angel? I'm not sure that I would know if the angels that I've seen are my own guardians or if they are someone else's. There's so much talk about, you know, having that one angel who's with you all through your life. And, uh, you know, don't you think they've got better things to do? I think they must have, because honestly, most of us live very ordinary and quite boring lives. They'd be boring to me. If I was an angel or a spirit guide, I don't know how Gregor puts up with me. I mean, most of the day is sort of boring and ordinary, and why would anybody want to be hanging around in that time? But our angels, our guides, Gregor's laughing at me, our angels, our guides, our loved ones, they know prior to something going on with us. They know when we will need them, and they're there for us when we need them. But are they there when we're, you know, when we're just sort of eating dinner and watching TV? I doubt it very much. Wouldn't you? I mean, can we use some common sense? That's all I'm going to say about that. That's it, Chris. I'm done. Chris.
Carolyn says, yum, apple crumble. I'd love to see you make that. And Nicole says, Yorkshire pudding.
Well,
Um,
look, on Sunday morning, okay, on Sunday morning, everybody, at what time are we doing this, Chris? 11 a.m.
yes.
Sunday morning, I'm going to show you how to make Yorkshire puddings. I'm going to have the oven on. I'm going to show you the fail-safe way to make Yorkshire puddings, and I might have to eat. Oh, I might have to eat my own Yorkshire puddings. I'm going to say I might have to eat my hat because they might not turn out for the first time ever. But I'm going to do it for. I'm going to show you how to do it, and maybe I'll either make an apple crumble or I'll make some baked apples, because baked apples are so easy, so simple to make. And maybe I'll tell you the story of how I helped a classroom of 4-year-olds make baked apples because my daughter talked me into. Uh, she wrote me in. Actually, she didn't talk me into it. She wrote me in and told everybody, "Oh, my mother will do that for you." Finding yourself in a room full of over 24-year-olds wanting to show them how to make baked apples. Oh, we did it. We had a fun time. So we maybe do that on Sunday as well. Chris.
All right. Ebony's on. She's saying, I saw you on Unsolved Mysteries and you're amazing. And
Well,
then
gosh, that was so. Who was this?
this is Ebony.
Oh, right. Well, thank you. That was so long ago. When did you see it? You can still find it. You can still see it. It was Robert Stack, and they did this like little replay thing. They used actors to replay part of my childhood, and it was really well done. It was really well done, and I understand that of all of the unsolved mysteries, it is one of the is certainly in the top 5 of the most watched, the most revisited of unsolved mysteries. So we could even probably, if you email us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, or Chris, KRIS, at rosemaryaltea.com, we could probably even send you the link. Oh, just go
Well,
on
actually,
YouTube.
Rosemary, it's right on your website. That's all I have
Oh,
to
is
do is
it?
go to your website. Yeah.
Well, there you are. Go to rosemaryaltea.com. You will find it there. Click on it and you'll see it. Now, that's sort of, it is the way that they portrayed that is a bit sort of spooky. But it was spooky. It really was spooky for me at the time. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that when we have our story time on the 29th. I'm excited about this story time, Chris.
I
I'm
am
wanting,
too, especially
I'm
since
wanting
it's
to
right
hear
before
other people's
Halloween.
stories as well. So
There's a few people who have already sent them into the email, so we're still looking for anybody else who wants to
oh,
add to
good.
that
If you
list.
do have a story, could you do us one small favor when you send it in? Can you try and make it, we don't want all of the background. We don't want the time of year. We don't want any of that because we only have so much time. And Chris only has so much time to read each email. So if you here's the story and make it as concise as you can without missing out the spooky details, but try not to give us too much information because if you send us, I have to be honest with you, if you were to send me personally an email that was pages long, I actually wouldn't read it because I don't have time and I can't go through all of the stuff to get to the reason why you're emailing me. So you need to make, please, 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 don't be offended, but please make your emails as concise, short and concise as you possibly can. And that way we can deal with you so much quicker, so much better. But if you send me reams of paper, I'm not reading. Sorry, I got no time for that. As much as I love you all, I'm too busy. So concise, precise and concise. Chris.
Cheryl wants to know, do you have any message for her today? She's specifically hoping to find out if we're on the right path for a new home because it's so stressful.
Well, Cheryl, I'm looking to Gregel. He's tapping me on the shoulder. You've got to have a little trust and a little faith here. So keep going. You'll be good. You'll be good. Chris.
Vicky's asking, can a house contain power to enhance your own innate abilities to hear, feel, and get images from the spirit world? We've moved and no longer have these experiences.
Well, it is true that uh, everything. I like this question. It's a good question. Um, Everything is about energy, and it is true that there are houses that retain a certain type of energy. There are houses that, especially houses if you live in them for long enough, or if they have a history. They don't necessarily have to be old houses, but if they have a history, very often you can connect and tune in with the energy that is, still within that house. And so it can make you, certainly, you're right, it can make you much more aware and it can help you to become much more in tune. If you are in tune with the energy of the house and the energy of the people who lived in the house prior, it can be very interesting and it can certainly enhance your ability to be able to sense, to see, to hear, and so on. Having said that, now you've moved doesn't mean that that goes away because you've learned how to enhance that and to tune into that and to raise your level of consciousness to the point where you can still, it's not the house that has given you this, it is the house that has encouraged you to become more in tune with what is going on. So don't let moving stop that going on for you. Chris.
Chris says it was wonderful during our consultation when Claire, who lived only 2 days, came through with messages for me and mom. I'm so happy she is my angel.
Oh, oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's so nice of you to do that. And it's so nice that you got so much from it and hopefully inspiration and a lot of comfort and a lot of joy. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Chris.
Carolyn wants to know, how does outer space fit with the Swiss cheese analogy?
Oh, perfectly. We're talking about the universe. Isn't that outer space? We're not talking about the world, this world. We're talking about the universe, and the universe encompasses what we would say is outer space. It fits perfectly. There is no, nothing contra to what I've just said to you. We're talking about the universe is like holes in a cheese, and I believe that there is not only one universe. I believe that it's possible that there are many, many universes that are out there. So outer space goes outer, outer, and outer, and beyond and beyond. And as my grandson would say, and into infinity. Chris.
Lorraine's asking, do dogs have the same experiences knowing when they will depart prior to being born? Do they choose when? And that's it. Do they choose when?
I'm not sure, actually, but I know that animals, not just dogs, but animals do have souls. They do have a knowing sense. So it's very possible. I've never actually posed that question. But maybe after the show, maybe I'll ask Craig or what he thinks about that. Chris.
All right. Sharon's asking, do our loved ones in the spirit world know when we are coming home?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. There is a buzz that goes on, that goes around. Yes, absolutely. They know so many things about us. They know way before we do, and it's the same with anything that we do. For instance, they'll know when there's going to be a family party. They'll know when there's going to be a celebration. They'll absolutely know before us when the wedding's going to be, and certainly when you know you come to somebody like myself and you have a consultation, and here we are hoping for those in the spirit world to connect, your loved ones to connect. Well, how do they know? Because the buzz went out way before, perhaps even before you knew you were going to make an appointment. They already knew, they were already told, they're already there and waiting, mostly, usually, because they knew to expect you. So yes, absolutely. um, isn't that what this program is called, Chris?
The spirit world sees all.
The
Yes.
spirit world sees all. We should add the spirit world knows all, although I'm not quite sure that's true, but they certainly know so much about us. And that's why when you come to have a consultation with somebody like myself, it's so exciting, because you think you might be excited to come for the consultation. You should see the faces of your loved ones in the spirit world who would say, yay, she's here, she's coming, now we can tell her what we really think. And they do. Chris.
Maggie's sharing with us that she just used sage in her new home. We know for the last few months she's been in a little bit of upheaval and having to
Right.
move quickly, and now she's in her new home.
Good. And the sage will, sort of, somebody earlier on said about energy and old houses and energy. It is very, very possible to clean out and to get rid of, energy in a place if it's something that you don't want, or if it's something that you feel, you want to clean out the old or other people's energy and start afresh with your new energy. And the Native Americans used to use sage. It is a ritual. It works. It's great. So I'm hoping that you're in this new place and that you're enjoying it. Chris.
JD's asking, where do people who commit suicide go?
The same place that we all do. I will address this. We've talked about this before. There are so many people and so many religions out there. Hate the word religion because it means something different to every person who uses it, actually. But there are so many religious belief systems and so many people who believe that, if you take your own life, or if a person takes their own life, it's an act against God. And it is, sort of refusing the gift that God gives us. What people don't understand, what these people don't understand, is that when somebody takes their own life, it's due to their mind, uh, working in a very different way. It's not about them turning against God. It's about, trying to escape their own worries, their own lives, their own situation. Unfortunately, when people take their own lives, they realize that they can't escape. The problems are still there and they still need to be dealt with. But I'm going to reiterate, you cannot go before your time. even those people who take their own lives, it is because it's their time. How many people do you know? Go online, go check it out. How many people try to take their own lives and they fail and they fail and they fail again and again and again? You might say, well, that's because they're not really trying. And I would say, yeah, because it's not their time. So I do not believe that people who take their own lives, go out into wherever it is and, and are lost souls and wandering around. It's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. I've spoken to many, many, many people who have taken their own lives, and every single time, and believe me, when I say many people, I'm talking a lot of people. Believe me, they are helped, they are guided, they are wrapped in gentle arms, their angels are with them, and they are helped to deal with the situation that they find themselves in. They are brought home to God just as the rest of us are. Chris.
All right, well, that's a good segue since we're nearing time to talk about the bottom brick that's coming up, because if people can
Oh,
discover their bottom brick, that's going to help solve a lot of things.
it does help solve a lot of things. And if you're wondering, all of you, what does that mean? What are we talking about? What is a bottom brick? We've got a few bottom brickers. We're collecting a club of bottom brickers. We have lots of our lovely bottom brickers, and you can actually go to our website and you can, in fact, click on a bottom brick exercise and see it happening in real time before your eyes and see how it works. We do have a volunteer coming next Wednesday, I believe.
Yes, we do. That'll be Cheryl.
What time?
It'll be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so 10 o'clock British time, 11 o'clock Italian time. Can't go throughout the world. You've got to figure it out yourselves. Anyway, yes, so we have our lovely volunteer, Cheryl. I'm not quite sure why she's doing this, but we're so pleased that she is. She is going to put herself up there. It's going to be live. She's going to be, literally taking very brave steps. I promise, Cheryl, I'll be very gentle with you and I'll hold your hand every step of the way. And we will see if we can get to the bottom of the issues that you have in your life. That's what the bottom brick is all about. People build walls. They build walls around themselves when something happens. Even as children, we start to build walls. We try to keep out the hurt and we try to keep out the pain of other people. And what happens is we build the wall so high very often that we actually not only keep out everybody else, but we keep ourselves locked inside. So we try to do this exercise in order to at least loosen the bottom brick. You know what happens when you loosen the foundation of a wall, don't you? The whole thing comes tumbling down. So our bottom brick is finding the source of the issue and then seeing if we can knock down that wall and still be brave and still understand that we can live fully, securely, knowing where the bottom brick started, why it started, and why we are the way we are, and that we can be whoever we want to be. So that's on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's next week. So let me recap. We are doing our Yorkshire pudding on Sunday. We may be doing, you never know, we're going to be popping in and out doing our off the cuff stuff. So be prepared for that. So we're on Sunday morning. I'm going to be making Yorkshire puddings for you all, and possibly making I was going to make a sauce for the Yorkshire puddings, but maybe I'll just do, I fancy the apples because I love baked apples. So I could eat those myself. And I can freeze it. If I make a dozen or 2 dozen or even 5 dozen Yorkshire puddings, I can freeze them because they freeze beautifully. And all you have to do then is to put them in a hot oven for 5 minutes and bingo, they're nice and fresh. I'll show you how to do it on Sunday morning. Yeah, so join me on Sunday morning, everybody. And what else is the Chris? We'll be back here next Thursday for the same time, same place. And of course, coming up here on Saturday morning, oh, shall we have a spooky story for Saturday? Who knows what we're going to be doing? So Saturday morning. So let me recap here. So it's Thursday. So possibly an off the cuff. On Saturday morning, we're going to be doing story time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll be able to ask questions and make comments and so on for story time if you'd like. And then Sunday morning, I should be up bright and early. Again, I think it's 11 a.m., isn't it, Chris, Sunday morning? You
Yes.
can make these Yorkshire puddings just in time for Sunday lunch, which is what we do in England. And all of you in England who are preparing your roast beef, nobody does it anymore, do they? For all of you who are going to hopefully be preparing your Sunday lunch, your roast beef, your Yorkshire puddings, I'll show you how to make a fail-safe Yorkshire pudding, and maybe some baked apples as well. Nobody does that anymore. Let's start doing this. Let's start encouraging people. If you would like the recipe, the ingredients to make it along with me on Sunday morning, email me at Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaltea.com, and ask, can we have the recipe for Sunday? Or we'll probably put it up on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, you'll see it there as well. So you can make it along with me. All you need for the Yorkshire puddings is flour, either plain or what is it? What is it, Chris?
Wheat?
All-purpose
All
flour.
purpose.
Eggs. You need 3 eggs at least, and 3 large to extra large eggs. Milk. You can use full fat milk if you want, or you can use 2% milk. A little pinch of salt and some oil, preferably sunflower or some light kind of oil, and a nice muffin pan to use. Yeah, that's what you need. Oh, no. And a whisk, of course. The whisk is important, but we can give you all of that stuff. And for the apples, you just need apples, raisins, brown sugar, a little bit of cinnamon if you like it, or a little bit of nutmeg. That's it. See how easy it is? See how easy my recipes are? Yeah, see? All right, Chris, that's it.
Well, we have a lot of things coming up. We hope everyone will join us, and please share this after we get off.
Yes, please will you share. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you joining us. We love having you, participate with us, and we hope you enjoyed this morning. Until we see you again, which I've just given you all the dates when you can, or if you don't remember, go to the website rosemaryaltea.com. If you've got any questions, you can email Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaltea.com. In the meantime, till we see you again, I'd like to say thank you, Chris, for all you do. Greg, of course, thank you for being here. Please, all of you out there, have a very, very blessed rest of the day, and have a very blessed rest of the week, everybody. Bye-bye.